At Hopewell Business Centre, there's a surprising variety of firms. Today's programme looks at the different bases for a firm or company. On today's agenda, you will hear about the status of 3 different types of firm: a sole trader, a partnership, and a limited liability company, and from a 4th type, a PLC, in the same area. You will see and hear how the employees of this company talk things through with the boss and the supervisor. A business advisor gives his viewpoint on setting up in business. And you'll learn some of the business terms, the special vocabulary used in a business plan. This young photographer calls in a business advisor to help him achieve his ambitions. But did he choose the right man? Tony Shaw is the proprietor of Red Signs and Stripes. He is a sole trader who works on his own, organising and running his own business. He used to work for another company. Why did he decide to start up on his own?
Well, I was made redundant, so I decided to set up my own company as a sole trader. And it's quite complicated starting your own business. I really didn't want the hassle. Being a sole trader, on the financial side, I take all the responsibility. The Hopewell Business Centre can help with advice, financial advice, legal advice, any worries of that sort. Each company is responsible for security. Each of us responsible for making sure that the unit is clean and tidy.
The companies at Hopewell Business Centre can get legal advice when they need it from a firm of solicitors which visit the centre.
It's quite substantially different to what it has been in the past.
Malcolm Skinner is a solicitor with the firm Winch and Winch.
I come up to the Hopewell Business Centre quite regularly. The people who are here obviously have legal problems. They come and see me. I do not charge for the service. I try and help them out.
The firm of Winch and Winch is a partnership. They have their offices not far away in Rochester.
Winch and Winch is a partnership. I'm one of the partners, and there are 4 partners altogether. In the case of a legal practice, we are not permitted to work together in any other way. We're not allowed to become limited liability companies. The advantages of a partnership, of course, are that you share a common view and you have colleagues on whom you can rely and with whom you can share your business problems. The disadvantage is that you are not able to limit your personal liability, that if in fact you get into trouble, then you are liable to the full extent of your personal assets. You cannot protect yourself behind limited liability.
Solicitors have partnership agreements. These are usually in the form of a written document.
A partnership agreement basically covers the relationship between the partners themselves. It can cover such matters as the capital of the partnership, that is what one or more partners put into the business. It can cover the profits and losses of the partnership, how much they can take out, how much they have to put in, and if there's a loss. It can cover their duties, such as what hours they should work on the business of the partnership. It can also deal with such matters as disagreements between the partners by setting out the procedures to deal with that.
Focus on facts. Tony Shaw used to work for another company. Why did he start his own business?
Well, I was made redundant.
He was made redundant. That means he lost his job. He set up his own company. That means he started a business on his own. In other words, he's a what?
I've been a sole trader. On the financial side, I take all the responsibility.
He's a sole trader. Each and every are very similar. Tony uses each when he's thinking of firms separately.
Each company is responsible for security.
Each company is responsible.
Each of us responsible for making sure that the unit is clean and tidy.
Each of us is responsible. This firm of solicitors is a partnership. Partners often have a partnership agreement. It's very complicated, as Tony Shaw said.
I really didn't want the hassle.
I didn't want the hassle. That's a colloquial expression meaning I didn't want the worry. The visual delights of living water. Fountains are one of the most decorative ways of improving the environment. One of the companies at Hopewell is the Fountain Workshop.
The Fountain Workshop is a limited liability company. A limited liability company generally has a board of directors. For our company, we have 2 directors. The advantage to those directors is that your liability is limited, as the name suggests, and each director has legal obligations towards the company. Every limited company needs to display a certificate of incorporation upon its premises. Every company which has a turnover of greater than £350,000 has to file accounts at Companies House.
Angie. Yes, morning. Did you have a chat to those people?
29-year-old Nicola Fulston is the chief executive of Brands Hatch, a famous racing circuit.
Brands Hatch Leisure plc is the largest organiser and promoter of motorsport events across Europe. PLC stands for Public Limited Company and means that a company is listed on the stock exchange within the UK. The shares are quoted on the London Stock Exchange. The advantages of being a PLC are that you are able to raise money more easily and more efficiently than as a private company. Brands Hatch Leisure plc turned over 14.2 million in 1996 and made an operating profit out of that of 3 million.
Focus on facts. The Fountain Workshop is a limited liability company. How many directors are there?
For our company, we have 2 directors.
2. Each director has legal obligations towards the company. When Ian is talking in general about limited companies, he uses every.
Every limited company needs to display a certificate of incorporation upon its premises.
Every limited company needs to display this certificate. The last business we saw was Brands Hatch Leisure. What kind of business was it?
PLC stands for Public Limited Company and means that a company is listed on the stock exchange.
It's a PLC. You can buy shares in a PLC, then you will be a shareholder. One of the companies at the Hopewell Business Centre is Empire Property Services. Alan Winter is the managing director.
I was made redundant from a large multinational company and started operating from my own house in the back bedroom. We set up a small office there and started operating in that fashion as a sole trader. And the business grew to such an extent that after a 12-month period, I found I had so much work that I couldn't cope with it myself. And I needed to look for somebody else then to work with me. It was that time that I set up a partnership with somebody who is now my co-director, and we ran as a partnership for a period so we could share the workload, and it continued to grow, and it then became appropriate to become a limited company.
How many employees do you have at the moment?
Well, we've only got 5 employees, but we use about 20 to 25 self-employed people
Right,
quite regularly.
right.
As a limited company, we continue to grow, and last year our turnover exceeded £1 million.
First thing in the morning, instructions for the day's work are given by the supervisor.
Morning, Harry. Morning, Bert. This is the day's job. This is the paperwork. It's a painting job. Painting the outside of the house, the windows, the doors. You'll find it all down here.
What's the address?
23 Edgeley Drive. Do you know where that is?
Yes, I know it. It's near the old sports ground. What kind of a place is it?
It's a 2-storey house. Wooden windows. You have to paint the outside of the house, the doors and the windows.
What's the colour scheme then?
It's all written down here. Beige for the walls, light blue for the windows and the doors.
How long will it take us?
We've allowed a week, but I'll see you back here tonight and you can tell us how you're getting on. OK?
OK,
Right.
let's go.
Let's
then.
Focus on facts. Alan Winter started business as a sole trader and became first a partnership, then a limited liability company. Now it's very successful. Can you remember the turnover?
Last year our turnover exceeded £1 million.
More than £1 million. Let's think about asking questions. First, some easy ones about places and times.
What's the address?
What's the address?
Do you know where that is?
Do you know where that is?
How long will it take us?
How long will it take us? In the office, one of the girls wants a day off work.
I like that one.
My sister and I are bridesmaids.
Lovely. So when's the wedding?
It's on Friday week, but I've got to ask for the day off. Do you think he'll agree?
I expect so. He's usually quite reasonable if it's a special occasion.
Have you got a moment, Alan?
Yes.
Do you think I could take a day off work at the end of the month?
Which day is it?
Friday week, the 31st.
We're rather busy then. Is it something important?
My cousin's getting married and she's asked me to be a bridesmaid.
Well, I suppose I'll have to say yes then, won't I?
Thanks very much.
But remember to fill in the holiday form. Tara, we're going to be very busy at the end of the month and Teresa wants to take the Friday off. Can you work a couple of hours overtime?
Oh dear. Yes, I suppose so. How late would you want me to work?
Hopefully only a couple of hours, until 7 o'clock.
Yes, all right then.
All right, thanks, because we're going to be very busy at the end of the month.
Focus on wordplay. Teresa has to ask the boss for the day off. She chooses her words carefully.
Do you think I could take a day off work at the end of the month?
Do you think I could? But the boss can be more direct.
Tara, can you work a couple of hours overtime?
Can you work late? The boss and the employee both use first names. This is not unusual in British offices. The Prince's Youth Business Trust exists to help young people who want to start up on their own. Hugh Pearce is one of their business advisors.
My career in banking started in 1960 when I worked on the branch banking side for 15 years. In 1975, I switched to the international side of banking, where I spent 20 years, and since August 1982, my career has revolved around all aspects of the bank's business in Latin America.
And of course, if you remember at the time, I felt that there was a big gap in there in terms of the credibility of the business plan through the customer
hello,
base.
Bob. It's John Baker of the Prince's Youth Business Trust. How are you?
The Prince's Youth Business Trust has a success rate for the businesses it helps of 66%. And the help it gives is principally through loans. The average is £2,500, plus a business advisor. A business advisor is an absolute essential and a condition of anybody who gets support from the Prince's Youth Business Trust.
The only increase in costs when I use the studio more will be the electricity bill and the heating bill.
One young business person who is getting help from the Prince's Youth Business Trust is Ben. He is a photographer and Hugh is his business advisor.
If this figure is optimistic.
Ben's business can be described as fashion and portrait photography. Now, I take a wider view because what he's actually doing is building images of people and of places. But the best person to describe Ben's business is Ben himself. Now, I know nothing about photography. And curiously, I think that is an advantage because it stops me interfering in what is his business. It frees me up to talk objectively about his business from my perspective, which is commercial and financial. So I contribute commercial expertise and experience and financial guidance and a listening board, a sounding board, if you like, that he can bounce his ideas from. If I knew a lot about photography, I might be tempted to say, well, why don't you try this shot, or if you develop it that way, which is wrong. It's his business, his ideas. I'm just advising him in the commercial realities.
Hugh insists that young people starting out in business must prepare a business plan.
I think for many business advisors, a business plan is absolutely key. It tells the client where he is, where he wants to get to, and how he's going to get there. If you like, it forces him or her to think about their business. It can sound a theoretical exercise. I can assure you it's not. It's hard work. There's nothing magical. It's just hard work and hard, focused thought.
And of course, if you remember at the time, I felt that there was a big gap in there in terms of the credibility of the business plan through the customer base.
The general recommendation is that a business advisor meets the client once every 2 to 3 months, perhaps more often in the early years. Now, Ben and I meet every month, and our meetings tend to follow the same pattern. So how are you going to ensure that there is a knock-on effect? What are you going to do?
Another feature of the business world is the business cycle, the ups and downs every business goes through.
A business cycle is really a way of saying that business has its ups and downs. When it's up, it's very, very good, but don't get over-optimistic. When it's down, don't get over-depressed, because in both situations, the young person has to take their decisions, and they shouldn't be over-influenced by the ups, and they shouldn't be over-influenced by the downs. And a business advisor listening to them and talking with them can help them to, in their own mind, smooth out the effect of those ups and downs. Prince's Youth Business Trust has a record of success in start-up businesses unequalled. 2/3 of businesses that the Prince's Youth Trust helps last for more than 3 years. Now, I know from my experience in commercial banking, that is an extremely high proportion. One of the most successful examples is a company called Dockspeed. Now, Dockspeed are in the transport business and currently have a fleet of 26 lorries and an annual turnover of £6 million. But you're paying rent even if you don't use it?
Yes.
The Prince's Youth Business Trust has many
Well, it does
successes to its credit.
To have a studio makes sense. That's essential for me.
There's nothing magic about a business plan, as Hugh Pearce told us. Much of it is common sense. But it certainly helps if, like Maddie, you are starting up a business. Part of the business plan will be the profit and loss forecast. Forecast means what you think or expect the figures will be. First, sales. How much does Maddie expect to sell? This will be money coming in. In one column, you write what you expect it to be for the month, the budget. In the second column, write what it really did cost, the actual figure of sales. But from this figure, Maddie must take away the costs of production, her direct costs. Direct costs include the cost of materials for making the product, and wages, the money she pays to her employees to produce the materials. Then there are fixed costs, the costs of running the business before she even starts production. These are often called overheads. Does Maddie rent her premises, the place where she has her business? How much does she pay in rent? The rates are the tax you pay on the premises. Then there's the cost of heating and lighting, the cost of postage, printing and stationery. That means the paper and envelopes she uses, the telephone bill, bank charges, and any other costs that she has to pay. If Maddie adds these up, she'll get her total overheads. Then she can continue right to the bottom line, where she will arrive at her net profit. Let's hope Maddie does well as she starts up her business.
Good morning. I'm afraid I'm running a little late this morning, but I think it's worth it, you'll agree. Troubleshooter must look his best in his line of business, you know, cutthroat competition and all that. Now, by the way, what do you think of my new company name, eh? Troubleshooter. I was going to call it Troubleshooter PLC. PLC, please listen carefully. But then I discovered that PLC really stands for Public Limited Company, with shares and shareholders. Then I thought of Troubleshooter Limited, but that wouldn't do either. So, as I am a sole trader, I work all by myself, I settled for Troubleshooter. Plain and simple, and I'm very pleased with it. Today, I'm off to see another client, a young businessman who's already had some advice from the competition, the Prince's Youth Business Trust. However, he still felt the need to contact me, didn't he?
Okay, chin down slightly.
Good morning, troubleshooter.
Oh, look, I told you on the phone, I'm getting help from the Prince's Trust and I don't need your services.
Ah, but my dear young sir, you always need a second opinion. Thank you very much. Oh, very stylish. Very stylish indeed. I see you are on the way to the top of your profession, and it will be a great privilege for me to help you. Now, let me see. What were your problems? Oh, yes. You need more space. Well, certainly your premises are very cramped.
Yeah, I know.
And you wish to employ an assistant.
Look, can't you see I'm busy? Look, I've already found myself a studio, but can I afford it?
Well, you can afford the wages of a lovely model. Surely you can afford a studio. You must do some very serious calculations if you wish to expand the business. You must cut back on expenses. Cut out these unnecessary costs. No more chocolate biscuits. No more sugar in your coffee. And remember to recycle the paper clips. And you take too many pictures. Do you know, my old professor used to say, take care of the pennies and the pounds will take care of themselves. And he was a very good businessman. Now, first we must look at the overheads, the rates and the rent, and of course your gas bill, your electricity bill, and your phone and fax bill.
Yeah, but what about the studio? Can I afford the studio?
I think as a professional, I am in a position to advise you on that one. Could I borrow your calculator?
Calculator?
Yes, a professional businessman such as yourself does possess a calculator.
I would have thought a professional troubleshooter like yourself would have had one.
Well, I seem to have left it at home, but never mind. We have this. I'm sure the young lady could help with our calculations. I'm sure you know what an abacus is for, my dear young lady.
What on earth is that on your face?
That's all about different types of companies for today's programme. You will find texts, exercises and special vocabulary in your student's book. Next week, we'll be looking at technology in the workplace. Goodbye till then.